Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I remember doing that chestnut.
Thank you. Think of Kenny without the music. It's Bob. Hey, do me a favor. Just stand up for 1 second and turn to the person next to you. Give them a high five and say, "You are going to be great on video." Now I know a lot of you thinking, "Wait a minute, he's talking to the wrong guy, the wrong person." I got a face for radio. Well. I ain't won any beauty contests lately either. It's not about how you look. Remember, the business that you have, the business that you're building, is based on you. And right now as we speak, Bill is marketing and selling around the world, and he's not even here. Now, you may say, well, he's using video. He's just calling it something different. No, video is what you do with a smartphone. Video is what you do with a homemade camera. Digital marketing, educational marketing, is what pros do to put themselves in 200, 2,000, or 2 million places at the same time. I'd like to, if you give me permission, just share a little bit of my background with you, because this is what I'm all about. Having people stop selling and helping people buy. How many of you feel the same way? You go into a store and somebody comes up and says, "Let me sell you something," and you go, "Please." You go to a networking event, somebody starts breathing commission breath on you. You go to a car dealership. People hate selling. So why do it? Why not help them to buy? I want to go back just a little bit of my story, if I can, with you. I'm a native Chicagoan. I live in California right now, but I was brought up in a family where we were, my dad was a precinct captain for the 1st Mayor Daley, and we were always taught as kids, because we had to go out and bring those bodies to the polls. You've heard of that. Sometimes they're even alive. But Dad always said, never put your foot in anybody's door, put your head in the door. That way if they slam it shut, you're still talking and taking them out. So I learned to talk pretty good, and I started a business TV show called Window on Wall Street, and I featured business leaders, particularly CEOs of publicly traded companies. And a funny thing happened back in 1990. Have you ever seen the movie Wall Street? Yeah. Remember what Gordon Gekko said? Greed is... Turned out not so good, because this is who the story was really about. His name was Michael Milken. And he wound up paying a significant fine, spent several years in jail, and basically ratted, if you will, on the other people he was with. So even today, he's out of jail, worth a lot of money, but he'll never get a pardon. So why am I telling you this story? Because I was making a ton of money. I was doing all of the videos for these companies that they were taking public. Now again, no formal education, but I learned something pretty quick. Stocks go up, stocks go down. And usually when it's an IPO, they're going up because all the hype is behind it. So I learned quickly to buy the stocks when they started, and then as soon as they tanked, I didn't get involved. The broker just said, sell them. So this cost me a lot of money when he went down. So I had to look for some other work, and as I told some of my friends, well, most of my clients now are in prison, so I'm going to have to find something else to do. But I had a yearn for Wall Street, even despite the greed. And boy, I tell you, I love success, but I hate greed. Because when I see people like you who are betting the payroll that you're going to make a success of yourself, that turns me on. So I met a guy who wrote a book called Understanding Wall Street, and I said, you're selling a lot of those books. Would you ever think of turning that into a video? And he said, well, yeah, but I'm not going to spend that kind of money. I said, well, I've got money. I'll be happy to do it. This became a bestseller. And I had nothing to do with it. I just made it. He already had the distribution channel, which is one of the lessons we already learned from Bill during the program, isn't it? You don't have to do it all yourself. You just find a JV partner to carry the load. Then another fellow came up to me and said, you know, I appeared on Broadway and I'm teaching school and there's nothing for teachers to use that really tells the history of Broadway. I said, gee, I can bankroll that for you. It's now the bestseller. And so when Bill talked about passive income, believe me, it's a nice thing. And I don't have to do a thing except, don't even cash the checks anymore because they go straight in the bank. So passive income is not impossible. It's just something you want to aim for. Now, did I get lucky? Yeah, but I did make the call. So that's part of the job. So then a funny thing happened. I met a guy on the far, anybody know who that is on the far left side?
On the top?
Yeah, up on top. His name is Jay Abraham.
Yeah, I know Jay Abraham.
Yeah, good-looking guy. I was recruited to put a promotional piece together for him, and I went to one of his events, and I found him to be the worst speaker I ever heard. So I quick ducked out in the hallway, started talking to some of the people who were making tons of money using his ideas, and I thought, well, there's a disconnect here. And as I began to fill up his seminar rooms with my work, my videos, keeping him out of them, just talking about the end result, I started meeting other people like Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield, and then of course Les Brown, and then Bill Walsh and Zig Ziglar along the way. So I learned a couple things along the way from these masters, and that's what I want to pass on to you today. I know very little, but I learned a lot, and that's what I want to pass on to you. And one of them is, if you look at your business and life as a three-legged stool, there's got to be three arms to it. Now, Michael Milken made a ton of money, still has a ton of money, but where's he going to go with it? So the emotional turmoil. I've not been to prison, don't intend to go there, but I don't imagine it was a trip to Disneyland. The other side is the spiritual. I'm not here to preach the gospel or anything, but I think that we all, in some way or shape, believe in a higher power. And the third element is the physical. I mean, what good is all the money going to do you? What good's all the spirit if you're really sick and bad? Some of you might be thinking, gee, I wonder how old this guy is. Well, I'm going to be 75 in December. Thank you, thank you. So I'm living the stuff. I'm not just talking about it. So what I want to pass on to you, what my three legs are. First of all, and you're going to say, wait a minute, I already heard this today. Well, there's a big difference between hearing it and doing it. So the first thing I said is I need to establish myself as an expert in my space. I would pass that on to you again. You've heard it from Bill, it's in your notes somewhere, but if you just take three things away from my talk, hopefully these will be the three. Become an expert in your space. I'm going to show you how to do that. And always be serving your marketplace without asking that stupid question, WIIFM. What does that mean? What's in it for me? Bill said, I'd like to put this program on the internet so that people can review it, because you're taking copious notes. But I guarantee you, when you're able to go back home a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, and go, gee, I want to watch that piece again on social media or whatever. I didn't say to Bill, well, what's in it for me? I just said, Bill, I'm honored to serve. And it's been a wonderful relationship. So put those words out of your psyche completely. If you're thinking, what's in it for me, you're a loser. What you want to do is serve. And the third thing is, you want to really provide valuable ideas and information for your marketplace that they can really use. So that's what we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about. But the problem is out there, when I say make yourself an expert, the market is cluttered. Everybody walking around says, I'm an expert. Who are you going to believe? So you've got to be able to stand out. So one way I believe you can do it is get out of the business you're in and get in the trust business. Who do you do business with? People you know. You see, liking is one, it's nice. But if you don't trust them, they don't do what they say, they don't provide value. When you get that call on your cell phone and you look at it and you go, nope, yep, it's instantaneous. And what makes that decision? Do they have anything of value for me, and do I trust them? So let's get in the trust business. I'll show you how to get there. Second, if you look at these three cornerstones I'm going to talk about, one of them is educational marketing, and we're going to explain exactly what it is and what it does. But the first thing about educational marketing is you've got to resist that temptation to start breathing commission breath on people and start pitching. Instead, you got to look at what it is that you know that can help them avoid making a mistake. Nobody likes to make a mistake. Ask any divorced person how they like that mistake that they made. You heard a couple stories already. Second thing you want to look at is if people learn best from mistakes, all you have to do is look at your own life, your own success, your own career, and I bet you each one of you could fill out a sheet as long as my arm talking about the mistakes that you see people make day in and day out. All you got to do is just write them down, because those are the things people are going to find valuable to them, because you're the person who's experienced them, and you're the person who can say, look, go ahead and do that. I mean, here's a train coming and you're standing on the tracks. Chances are, unless you're invincible, you're not going to be standing there very long. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Third thing is the magic number 7. You're going to hear me say 7 and 3 all the time, and you're going to say, what's the hang up on 7? Well, see, 3 is all people can remember, but 7, it becomes a mystical sort of number, and it shows that you really know something. I mean, anybody can come up with 3 of anything, but when you say, here are 7 mistakes that we see people make, and here's how to prevent them, now suddenly you're starting to take on that level of authority. Could you do 9? Could you do 11? Could you do 13? Yeah, but now you're into overwhelm. How many of us have, just curious, turned on Netflix and watched a pilot of some series and then got hooked and spent the next hours and hours? I just finally got through Breaking Bad.
Orange is the honey. Say the word.
Orange is the new black.
Yes.
If anyone had said, you know, look, we live in this Twitter world. I got to have this in 140 characters. I got to have an Instagram that's only 30 seconds long, but yet I'm not there night after night watching this program. Why? Because we're hooked. So that's a crazy world that we're in. On one hand, it's a Twitter world. On the other hand, we want to go deep. So what we want to do instead is take a look at effective communications. Now, Bill earlier talked about how to write a book. Many of you know about this study. Can I just see a show of hands? Who's heard of Albert Mehrabian and his study from UCLA? His name is spelled Mahrabian. You've heard of him. Okay.
Say it again.
Albert Mehrabian. He said if you look at communication, effective communication, there's really 3 parts. One of them is 55%, one of them is 38%, and one is 7%. Wild guess if you didn't read the study. What's the 7?
Verbal. Talking.
Words. Words? You got to be kidding. I'm starting to write a book. Guess what? It doesn't make you bad. It just means you're only communicating at 7% of effective communication. Now, I'm kind of a contrarian. If 7% is what I'm doing, I look at the 93% I'm not doing, and I'm saying I'm failing 93% of the time. So what's the secret? First of all, now you say, he's kidding. I got to go research that. Play along with me here. Here's a simple sentence. I didn't say you were beautiful. Only this time I want you to read it out loud with the emphasis on the first word. Say it all together.
I didn't say you were beautiful.
How about now?
I didn't say you were beautiful.
And?
I didn't say you were beautiful. I didn't say you were beautiful. I didn't say you were beautiful. I didn't say you were beautiful.
Same sentence, 7 interpretations from the same 7 words.
Wow.
Do I prove my point?
Yes.
All right. Does this mean books are bad? No, they're wonderful. It just means you should have one word changed in your vocabulary. And I'm going to ask you to change it right now. Write this down. put the word book down, cross it out, and say work. And I think that will have a major impact, as it has for my clients, on their business.
I'll sit down and say what?
Instead of book, say work. And I'll explain how that works. So obviously, I'm prone to video. Now, a lot of you thinking, oh, the guy probably can't read. No, I can read. It's just I prefer to watch things. I prefer to listen to things. It doesn't make me bad, doesn't make you better if you're a reader. But if you got to remember, people are multimodality. So why cut off 93% of your audience because you're not using video? Second thing it does, because of the popularity of YouTube and all the Instagrams and all that stuff, it brands you as an expert. So one of the things that we did with this Understanding Wall Street, while I was working in that marketplace with CEOs of companies, I was giving away copies of the video of Understanding Wall Street as business cards. Now, they already knew the book, but I wasn't on the book. But I was on the video. And the perception was, guy's an expert. And I learned some of the big words that they used in there. And the fact that I interviewed 6,000 people, I really only knew about 7 things. But I just asked them and listened. It's amazing how smart you are when you don't talk and you just ask. So, lesson learned. So the other thing is, it's so easy to create. I mean, Austin got up and told you can use PowerPoint to do that, and you can do that. But I want to go back to another part of my life. Jim mentioned I was the color man and floor announcer for the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA, and that was a great amount of fun. I learned a couple of big words like MF. Initially, it was a lot of fun, but I met some great people, Dr. J and some wonderful people. But the average word was MF, and a lot of things going on that didn't particularly turn me on. Enlightened? No. Fun? To some degree, yeah. Who is this guy? Anybody?
Vince Lombardi.
Vince Lombardi. Now, being a native Chicagoan, we hated his guts. Why? Because the Packers creamed the Bears whenever possible, and they did it again this year. They always do. But he did say something that really resonated for me. Remember that statement? Gentlemen, this is the football. That's how we started training camp. Yeah, back to basics. So what I'm going to suggest to you, if anything I say makes any sense, is you start thinking of this as your football. Now, this does a lot of things for you. Number one, it immediately positions you as an expert. And I'm going to show you how you can do one of these, not in 4 weeks, but in 4 hours. Secondly, the perception of this versus a book, I don't want to debate that. You should have both. But why not start with the easy one first? Secondly, on the other side of this is an audio of the DVD. And embedded in this side of the audio is tremendous value that you've got tucked away in your computer, and you probably never even realized it was there. Some spreadsheets, some formulas, some checklists, some e-stuff. So all kinds of goodies. So when you put them all together and you give this to somebody, you have a little more impact. Should you do the book? Sure, absolutely. But this is an easy way to get started first. Second, if you are in a business where you are going to be adding value and ultimately speaking on one of Bill's stage, it's the first step in the funnel because now people can buy this. Now let's talk money. One of the other things I did as a kid, I grew up working summers in Belmont Harbor. I don't know how well you know Chicago, but it's a kind of a nice place. I was 16 years old, and the owner had a tremendous amusement park. It's not there anymore, but it used to be, so it shows you how old I am. It's called Riverview.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, was that incredible. But in the meantime, I got to walk up and down the harbor because my boss never came. I came twice a year, whether he wanted to or not. I was a young 16-year-old guy, not as sharp as Austin, but I was learning quickly. And I got to meet all these other owners. And I'd sit down and I'd say to him, what's your secret of success? How did you become so successful? And one merchant, I'll never forget, he said, Bob, here's what I'm going to teach you. You work on 10% profit. I said, could you explain that? He said, yeah, you see a pen like this? You would buy it for $1 and sell it for 10. and you make 10% profit. I kind of looked at him and I said, I'm not a math wizard, Mr. Taish, but I think that's not 10%. I think that's like much more. He said, well, let me give you a second lesson. Don't be a smartass. So if you looked at this product, it has a fixed cost of $10 out the door. Now you say, well, are you kidding? I can duplicate that for $2 somewhere. Yeah, I'm talking about making it, packaging it, and putting it in your hand to where you can give it away, costing you $10, or sell it for 10 and break even, or sell it for 100 and make 10% profit. You get to choose. You get to choose. And I'll tell you more about that. And those of you who want to go a little further into this, I'm going to be around. A lot of you were kind of confused. You say, who's that guy shooting all this video? Is he some kind of a video guy? Yeah. I do what I love. I'm also pretty good at doing a couple of other things too. But this is what I love. So that's, how do you do this? Now, Bill gave you a great suggestion. He gave you some chapters up there. I'm just going to give you a little different spin, because there's no wrong or right. It's like, is red wine better than white wine?
Depends what you're eating.
It depends on what you're eating. Are blondes more fun than brunettes? It depends on who the blondes and brunettes are, So here's something you could do, and you don't even need a computer. If you just copy that down, if you took one module from your best stuff, and let's say you started with the 7 biggest mistakes people make, and just take any one of them and kind of make that a chapter head or a segment head or you could call it a module head, whatever you want to call it, but just one thing. And then you listed just 3 talking points on that. How many of you think you could get in front of a mirror and talk for 5 minutes? Some of you could open the refrigerator door and talk for 5 minutes on whatever happens when the light goes on, because we're talkers. Now, many of you are great writers, So it really depends on your style. But talking is better than writing unless you're a gifted writer. Now, I'm not. I write great copy, but man, that's work. Other people, flows out of them. Talk, again, pick your poison. They're both good, do them both. Okay, now here's how you make a 60-minute DVD. If you can do that once, you do it 12 times. Now you might say, well, geez, 12 of these things? You said there was only 7 mistakes. Yeah, but now there's an introduction. Now there's about you, because they want to know who you are. And you want to tell them a little bit about your why. I never got to my why. My why is when I got to work with Jay and people like Bill and Mark Victor Hansen, I got to fall in love with the people who really light my fire. And that's people like you who are building your own empires. And the greatest joy I get is not cashing those big checks. I got all that money. I sat on a boat for a couple of years and I played golf every day. That's not the turn on. The turn on is seeing people succeed, and that's my why. So anything I share with you, if it helps you, that's my pay. Crazy.
Thank you.
So there's the secret. Any questions on this so far? How many of you think you could do this if I put a gun to your head? I don't have to. It's already in your brain. Now, there are ways to get that out and to help you with that, and that's one of the things that I'm available to chat with you about if you like. Let me go to the second one. The second cornerstone is a funnel system. Now, Austin talked a lot about that. I found a little different way. Just curious, can I see show of hands? How many of you really love high pressure, face-to-face, belly-to-belly, nose-to-nose, toe-to-toe selling? Can I see a show of hands? Great.
Not me.
Okay. I don't. Now, my son does. He just loves it. I don't. I would rather have people drop out of the bottom of a funnel and say, I like what you got. I want to talk to you more about it. I just like that. It's a different style. Doesn't make either of us good or bad. Yeah. So I'm going to share with you the funnel I use that basically says if I can put people in, and if you're interested, I will put you in for no cost at all and no obligation. All you have to do is give me a business card with your email on it, and I'll put you on the funnel. I'll show you how it works. Bill's going to talk about it later. He called it TFI, and I love the program, not because of multi-level or anything, just because of what it does. So the first thing it does is it allows everyone to make short video emails sitting at their desktop. Now, would they be better off hiring a professional like me? If they had the money, why not? If they didn't, who needs me? You know? A lot of people say, am I hearing this guy right? He's in that business. He's saying you don't need me? You don't. Second thing it does.
Can you just back up one second?
Sure.
One page back.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you got people coming in at the top. They drop down, and ultimately they drop out the bottom, and they say, I'd like to have a conversation with you. Now, is that a sale? No, because I'm going to tell you about the third part, which is a consultative approach to selling as opposed to, okay, I got you now. Take out your checkbook. Don't need to do that anymore. Because people hate to be sold. They love to buy. We talked about that. So the reason I like this TFI, and we'll talk more about that, Bill will go through it a little later, a lot of you would like to be blogging, but you're thinking, here we go again. Now I got 12 things to do. I suggest to you that you could literally sit down once a week, turn on your computer, and do a blog in video, and out it goes in one fell swoop to all your database, all the people in your funnel, all your social media, and you don't have to do anything. And you look back and you say, that sucked, I'll do it again. Big deal. After you do it a couple of times, it's like brushing your teeth. It just isn't that difficult. It also does a video newsletter. Bill talked a lot about a newsletter. To me, doing a newsletter means work, work, work. Write. I'd rather just stick in a video and then interview a client and have them talk about their success story, put that video in, and I'll show you how to do that, and now send out a video newsletter. So it's a lot about the branding, but I can see a lot of you still looking and saying, you know, you don't get it, Bob. I'm not that articulate. I'm not that good looking. It's not about how you look. It's about, do your clients respect you? Do they trust you? Do they like you? If not, give them what they want. I think Bill would be the first to tell you he's not going to win any beauty contests. But you respect him, he gives you great information, and he's a likable guy. We're all in the same boat. We're the product, like it or not. Now, many of you are thinking, yeah, but 5 years from now, Bob, you don't know where I'll be. I'll be a megalith, gigantic corporation, and God bless you. But right now, we used to say in high school, with the car I had, she was the best I could get at the time. So we got to get better wheels here. Sorry about that. Had to sneak out. Here's the other thing that's happening that's very disturbing. Question?
Yeah, just a question about the blog and versus the vlog. I know some people that do both. Is that just being redundant or?
No. Again, you got 7% who prefer. You got 7% who hate video, despise it. So let them read.
Okay, so if you are doing the vlog, what would be the time limit? Would it be 2 to 3 minutes, 5 to 7? You know, like what is too long or what is too short?
How long can you hold your breath?
Well, I was a swimmer, so I.
Okay, and I can hold mine 30 seconds. See, it's not how long it is. If my friend had told me you're going to be watching Breaking Bad for, what is it? I lost count after 13 episodes times 13, 130 hours? Are you kidding? So it's a matter of how long are they interested. But you've got such interesting stories to tell. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, if I see a video on like Facebook, if the counter at the bottom is over 5 minutes, I'm not clicking.
Then see, to each your
Right,
own
that's why,
taste. Yeah,
you know,
and I agree.
Is it better to just do a lot of little short?
How many of you ever walked out of church on a Sunday and said to the pastor, Pastor, that sermon was so good. I just wish you'd gone on another half an hour.
Okay.
Sometimes you do say, can I have another 5 minutes? Go on, Pastor, come on, because it be good.
There you go.
So it
But
doesn't matter.
more chances than not, less is more.
Okay.
more, and you're going to get some experience, as you go along.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so then you got video conferencing. I'm going to be talking a little bit about that, all thrown into that $35 a month that Bill was talking about. So you say, well, geez, 35 here, 35 here, 20 here. Try and open up a regular business. How many of you ever opened a real business with real bricks and mortar, real stuff, Yeah. And guess what? You got no customers. At least this way, you're in the game. So again, for every Sam Walton that's out there or every store that's successful, I say, God bless. Thank you for that. But in the meantime, you got to make a little investment in yourself. And you've already done that. So you ponied up. You're here. Now you're going to be watching the online stuff as well. So here's the other thing that's going on that we need to be very, very conscious of, and that is it takes so many touches before somebody builds that trust with you. Now, we know there's been exceptions to that. You meet somebody, they've been referred, and they say, gosh, this person is really somebody I need to talk to. But normally you got to hear from them a few times. But how are you going to hear from them? Are you ready to buy now? Are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy? No, that's sales pressure. But if they're giving you valuable information continually, and you're getting to see them and hear them, sooner or later you're going to, as Bill says, buy or die. And they can always opt out. So if they're not interested, but what do I care? I'm here in Chicago having a great time. Bill's out there doing his thing, and who cares? You're only interested in the ones who care about you. Just an easy way to do it. So the third thing is what I call a consultative close. And that's where you're actually sitting on the same side of them, and you're almost looking at them as their partner instead of the person. It's like that old joke. Somebody said, how much is 1 and 1? And the guy said, am I selling or am I buying? It's a difficult question. Because in your case, if you're on their side, you're not selling them what they don't need. So I can only work with a few people here. This is not for everyone. But those folks who I could work with, I'm happy to chat with you whether we can or not. But who knows? But we're going to take a consultative approach. Should you even be doing this? Are you far enough along in your career? Would this pose a problem? For example, if you had 500 of these, what would you do with them? If you're going to put them in your garage, I'm going to say don't even think about it. Right. Don't even think about it. But if you're going to be speaking and you're going to be saying, hey, how many of you folks have got a couple of ideas today so far? Can I see a show of hands? Okay. How many of you wish there was somebody here that you could have shared that information with? Well, you could take this home today everything's on there, by the way, and you pick your number. Now you got people coming in the funnel buying something. Now you say, yeah, but I should be selling them $2,000 worth of stuff. No, remember Bill taught us, it's the lifetime value. But if I don't get you in the funnel first, all you are is a prospect. So it's just a different way of looking at it. How do you walk out with customers already? So the consultative sale. Now, there's two ways to do that. One of them is to jump in your car and do face-to-face. And back in the day, before this traffic was so horrendous, you could get 3-4 face-to-faces in a day. Mm-hmm. Now in California, if you get one in, you killed the day. Mm-hmm. So I've adapted a philosophy of face-to-face virtually. Now, it's got to be teed up properly. You can't just say, I'm not coming to see you. But I use it all over the world. I'm able to say, look, let's do a face-to-face virtual meeting. How does that work for you? You don't have to go anywhere. If I've got something of value, we can extend the meeting or reschedule for a later time. If we don't, you click and we say goodbye. Is that fair enough for you? Now, I've got tremendous cost in this. It's part of the package with TFI, or if you're not in TFI, you can use, you know what Skype is. I use another one called Zoom, zoom.us. It's also free, but only for 45 minutes. So what happens after 45 minutes, it says, you better start a new meeting. Now I'm a big spender, so I spend the $10 a month, $9.95. But I can put 100 people on that face-to-face. I don't have 100 people, but if I was doing a special session, getting ready for a program or something like that, or following a program or something, I could see them all face-to-face. And that face-to-face is kind of important because how many people, their lips tell you yes, yes, but there's no, no in your, what is that? Your lips tell me no, no, but there's yes, yes in your eyes. You can now see their faces.
So
Again, you pick your flavor. The reason I like the Zoom is, number one, I click one button and it records everything.
Okay.
And I tell people, by the way, I'm recording this because I don't want to take notes. You don't have to either. I'll send you the recording. In case something, who knows what's going to come out. But here's what's going to come out. A lot of times somebody says, you know, blah, 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 blah. I used that one idea and dot, 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 dot. And you're going, oh, if I had the recorder going, I could have captured that. Well, you got the recorder going. That's why I like it so much. Magic happens. So yeah, you could get a professional interview to go out and do that, but you don't have to. So Zoom is terrific. Free up to 45 minutes. And you can put multiple people on that. Is that of value to you?
Yes.
All right, so say to yourself, just touch your forehead and say, I think this guy's got something. Okay, so let me wrap it up. How do you get started? Well, video, Austin already told you, you can do yourself. You can use PowerPoint, you can do what you did last night. You certainly could use a relative. God knows there's a relative somewhere that has a flip cam or a iPhone, and it's probably, looking for some extra bucks. You could certainly use them. You could certainly hire somebody who probably is really good with a camera but has no conception of marketing, never learned from a Jay Abraham, never gone to a Bill Walsh program, and really knows nothing about marketing, but they're really good at making videos. You could do that, or you could JV with a pro. So the only clients I work with, and I can't work with everyone, are those that I can joint venture with. So let's say you did something like this and you said, 10 bucks, count me in. I make a lot of money on that 10 bucks. So I have a vested interest in your success. That's why I put the production dollars up. You don't have to pay any studio. You don't have to pay any camera guy. You don't have to pay any directors. You don't have to pay any coaches to do all that. That's what I do. So you thought I was just running a camera back there. I do a couple other things. So, but there's different kinds of videos. Now you want to be aware of this. I like videos that persuade and sell something. This is what I want to close with. Jay Abraham told this story. I was so taken with it that I actually went online and read a little bit about it. But back in the 4th century BC, in Greece, Greece was being overrun by the Macedonians. And there was this Demosthenes, who was the greatest orator of his time. He preceded Cicero. And when he got up and spoke on starting an uprising to face those Macedonians, and take back Greece, everybody applauded, and they just loved it, and they didn't do anything. Pericles was basically an uneducated guy. He was like a farmer type. He got up and he spoke from the heart of why Athens needed to rise against them. And the people got up and they said, let's march. That's what I mean by persuade. Whether that video is 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, if people don't decide to work with you, to trust you, to go to your event, or to do something, I think it's happy talk. But you get to choose. So, to wrap this up, if this interests you, I'd love to talk. I'm here. I'll be happy to do a little coaching session with you as well. But I really understand what's going on. You're in overwhelm right now. I'm in overwhelm, and I've been through this. So don't feel bad. But if you would like to go in the funnel, just at some point drop me off your business card. I'll put you in the funnel. You'll start getting these videos. And at some point you say, I think I'm past the overwhelm now. I'd like to talk to this guy, see what it's level on. I'm happy to do that. No harm, no foul. Fair enough?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good.